One of my students actually asked me this very question. Should I get married before I finish my hifdh? Usually with questions like this, people want a simple answer when the reality is there is no black or white answer to such questions. You see, marriage doesn't automatically ruin a person's chances to become a hafidh. It doesn't make them better either automatically. It is something that depends from person to person. What I can promise you is this: marriage will change the conditions that you memorize in. And like most successful products or outcomes, hifdh is something that can really be affected by the environment, by the outcomes that you produce every single day. So in this video, I want to break this down properly. How does marriage help a person in their hifdh journey? How can it make hifdh harder? And how to decide for yourself instead of copying someone else's story in life and thinking that this is what will fit for you. Now, who am I for you to listen to my advice? I actually got married very young. I got married at 19 years old while I was studying in university at Cambridge, basically. And that meant that my life was pretty hectic. I was traveling in between London and Cambridge. And also I became a father at 20. So I have some experience in this domain. Marriage, there's two major things at the same time. It impacts your emotions and it gives you responsibilities, which you were probably not ready for. A lot of brothers and sisters, they ask a lot of questions. How can I prepare myself for marriage? How can I do this? How can I do that? But the reality is there is no way you can become the best person for a marriage or being the best husband or wife without actually being a husband and a wife, which is why the best way to become something is to practice. That means that very often the responsibilities, the emotions that come with marriage, they become a shock for many people. So when it comes to answering this specific question, should I become a hafidh or should I wait to get married? It all depends on whether you can memorize in certain conditions. The question is this: can you memorize under increased responsibility? Now let's start with the positive side of marriage. Marriage gives the opportunity to people to calm down, to relax, to let go of that desire that causes them stress over time if they don't find the outlet. And of course, it gives the majority of people an emotional calm, basically. It gives them something to be happy about, a peace that Allah mentions in the Quran. It also can give, specifically for young men, the push that they need to be able to take on that responsibility. Unfortunately, as young men, we often take the easy path out. We want to find the easiest way to do things rather than taking on responsibility that will help us grow. And marriage is something that pushes the majority of men to grow and to become a better person because they have to. Often I see people who are married, they often think to themselves, I need to become a hafidh. I need to go and push further because I need to be a good example. I need to be a good leader for my wife. And these are good, good intentions to have, and it can be a good motivating factor. And of course, this is a ni'mah, a blessing from Allah. Marriage removes this internal chaos that people find when they're single. And because of marriage, they can actually succeed and go above and beyond. For myself, marriage helped in the sense that it made me realize what I'm truly capable of. I recently saw something where it was an advice that a person, especially a young man, should look to work 12 hours a day for at least 30 days because it only shows to them what they are truly capable of. In the same way, marriage did the same thing to me because I realized very quickly that I was capable of far more in terms of input, what I put into my work. Whereas before, a lot of things seemed impossible. It wasn't capable. I believed that I wasn't capable of doing. But marriage very quickly showed that when you put your back to the wall and you have to do something, you eventually find a way. But the other side of this is that marriage raises the levels of responsibilities that you have. This goes for both men and women. You now have mouths to feed, emotions to satisfy, family and events that you need to go and visit all the time. The thing that most single people complain about, that if they had disappeared from the face of the earth, no one would notice, no one would care. That is often a blessing sometimes. The loneliness you feel when you're single is a moment that you probably are taking for granted. You don't realize right now that this is a moment where you can focus on yourself and improve far better and far quicker than if you were to have people relying on you, always checking up on you. It sounds like like I'm complaining, but I'm not. You see, if you can't balance the Quran when you're single, when no one's checking up on you, then you probably won't do it when everyone wants your attention. And you often find people who say that when they were memorizing the Quran before they got married, it was very easy. And the reality is it's because they didn't have a system or structure before they got married. They did it in their free time, their spare time. And when you get married, the harsh truth is your free time gets shortened a lot more. Your free time is now family time. And this pushes us on to a specific point that I want to make, that there are certain types of people, or two groups you could say: those who rely on motivation, quiet, peace to be able to memorize, and those who do it despite the environment that's around them. Group one, those who rely on motivations and emotions, they're usually affected the most by marriage, because unfortunately, and this is the reality, marriage is not always smooth sailing. It's not always easy. It's not always giving you an emotional rush that you can run off forever. Rather, the opposite happens. There are dips. There are, moments where you feel like, upset, where you feel sad, where you feel angry. These emotions can have a big impact on a person, especially if this person is someone who reacts off of their emotions. Literally a couple of days ago, my son was not sleeping until 3 o'clock at night. And, the reason being, I have no reason, I have no clue why he decided to sleep so late. But the only way he was able to sleep was by me taking him out of his bed, putting his clothes on and his jacket on and his shoes on, going into the car and driving up and down the A12 until 45 minutes later he fell asleep. So that meant I fell asleep at 3 o'clock as well. Yeah, alhamdulillah, I was able to wake up at 5, knackered, absolutely, shattered. But I was able to do it, and I still attended, the Baraka block, the lessons that I have to do in the morning. I managed to do those. Did it make me happy to do that? No, it wasn't nice. It wasn't a good feeling. I was grumpy. But that's just what happens when you're married, and you have to live with that. And some people are able to do that, and some people aren't. Even myself, there are a lot of times where I'm not able to do that. I have to, make up for the lost sleep. I have to make up for so many things just because my life can be a bit chaotic. The chaos that I mentioned sounds nightmarish to people, and it probably is a bit nightmarish to myself as well. It is scary to think about how you can lose so much freedom very quickly. But the thing is, if you are willing to make that trade-off, you realize that this is what marriage life is sometimes like, and it can be difficult. And yet you decide to do it. That's your choice. You can do that. And that is, a lot of people do make that choice. The second type of group of people who memorize are those who don't rely on their emotions, don't rely on the stars aligning to be able to go and do the things that they need to do. And that's not something that, they're not special people to do that. They're people who are just very conscious. They're very thoughtful about what they do. They're making sure that their children are going to sleep at night. Their wives are happy. They are making sure that they're sleeping on time and things like this. And of course, there are days when they slip up, and they don't allow that slip up to tumble out of control. So while you're single, it becomes even more important to have these systems in place. If you're single and you're going to sleep at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and, floating about life, it's very, very unlikely that you become, very productive. And often what you'll see is that people do become productive for a short time in their marriage when things are good, when, the honeymoon period, you could say, is, running and doing the hard work for them, basically. They're waking up on time, they're going to Fajr Salah just because they feel good. But as soon as a little blip happens, they fall off, and in a very catastrophic way. So if you're unmarried and already unstructured, focus on building that structure first before you go into the marriage. If you're married already and you're watching this video, then focus on creating that structure with what tools you have. And there is benefits that you can find with being married. You can work with your wife, your husband, to be able to create that environment in your home where you can pursue the goals you want to. And of course, at the end of the day, a person knows themselves best. If you realize the trade-offs, that you are happy to take on the responsibilities, the possible stress, the possible emotional turbulence that comes with marriage, and you believe that marriage is wajib for you, then go ahead and do so. And I'm not trying to stop people from getting married. Don't get me wrong, marriage is great. It can be a very good thing for most people. The Prophet ﷺ stressed it was a sunnah as well. It is a sunnah, sorry. I hope in this video you understood the nuance on getting married. The question becomes this: are you willing to take on more stress, more responsibilities, more emotions to fulfill marriage just because it's a checklist or a checkbox that you need to do? Or do you actually want to go and become a person that is successful in this life and in the hereafter as well? And it can happen. There are many married couples who are very successful, who memorize the Quran together, who do all of these things. But don't fool yourself if you're not that type of person that is structured already. Unless you are being dragged by a very structured partner, which in itself is a burden for your partner to have to do, then it is very unlikely that you're going to suddenly change on the night of your wedding.